Hey, Live on Purpose family, we're here to share with you what Vicki and I are doing to stay close to our grown children.
You know, as your kids grow up, you kind of lose some of the control, but that doesn't mean you stop caring about them. We're still kind of new at this, but these are 5 tips that have helped us along the way of keeping that relationship alive with our grown children.
I think we ought to start with this one. You really need to have a genuine interest in them and their life.
And I think that sometimes takes a minute to just step back and look at them curiously through brand new eyes. If I were to meet this person, what would I find so enjoyable about them? Because our children, as they grow up, they're kind of new people, especially as they introduce new people into their lives, new careers, they have new experiences. Just truly, genuinely enjoy them.
When you can do that, Vicki, like you're saying, you know, that genuine curiosity and just stepping back enough to observe and be interested, truly interested. Our kids are not little copies of us.
No, not at all.
And in fact, if you haven't noticed that already, they're going to show you that at some point. But they are fascinating people. They are human beings who are engaged in a life that is very different from your own. And that in and of itself should be of interest to you, especially given your relationship with them. That's pretty much our first tip. One of the things that we're doing to try to stay close to our grown children has to do with breaking up. And what I'm talking about is breaking up with our image of what their life should be like.
You know, I think it's so funny because if you were to poll a whole room of people and say, how many of you have had your life turn out exactly as you thought it would? I don't know anybody that would raise their hand. Our lives don't turn out the way we think they should. And so I don't know why we get so caught up in our child having to have the life that we thought they should have.
I remember something that Jody Moore shared about this when she said, stop cheating on your husband with your husband's potential. And that caught my attention because she's really pointing out here that we get this image in our mind of how it should be, how we want it to be. And she used the example of a husband, but we do that with our kids all the time. Stop cheating on your kids with your kids' potential or with what you think their life should be.
Just this image that isn't even real. And so just take the time to look at them and recognize where they are and appreciate their life as they have created it.
Let's use some empathy here too, because if you put yourself in your kids' position, how does it feel to them if they're a huge disappointment to you? And the only reason that you would ever be disappointed is because it's not what you thought it should be.
Right.
I'll put that in air quotes again because it's imaginary.
Now remember, the whole idea of doing this is to create and strengthen the relationship that we have with our child, our grown child. And so we're just saying that we've found it helpful to let go of what we thought things should have been and just enjoy where they really are.
I've asked several of our clients at Live on Purpose Central this very question. Would you rather have your kids living the way you want them to live, or would you rather have a relationship with them? And it's pretty clear for most people what they really want.
Another thing we do is we try to have some sort of contact with them in a regular basis. We usually do that at least weekly. That can look like a phone call, a text stream, sending funny memes or pictures, but some way that we have a contact with them each week.
We also have formalized this. When the kids were little, we had a weekly family council meeting. We called it Family Home Evening, and now we call it Jenkins Junction, and it happens once a month. It's just a Zoom call. For an hour, usually we'll get on, and not everybody can come every time, but we've tried to create a regular schedule where we have intentional contact. Now, a little warning here. You don't want to overdo it because that tends to push people away if you're too needy or too clingy. So you want to practice that in some moderation. It's not all day, every day. It's an occasional, regular contact, and we intentionally do that. We're sharing some of the things that are working for us, but like you said earlier, Vicki, we're kind of new at this still. All of our kids are grown. Our youngest is in her early 20s, and so we still feel like we're establishing these patterns. What's working for you?
We'd love to hear from you. Go down in the comments and write down things that are working for you.
I think that's going to be just as valuable as anything that we can share with you. What are you doing to stay close to your grown children? Put it in the comments. We'd love to hear it.
Just to kind of reiterate, we do that regular monthly meeting with our family. And one of the advantages I find to that as well is, I don't know if you've noticed this with your own children, but as little children, they have a particular way of interacting with each other. And as they grow up, there's a new way of interacting as adults. And you've probably seen this with your siblings too. And sometimes it's hard to break out of the younger sibling mold, but I think it's a really great way to give an opportunity for everybody to interact. And this is, not all kids have siblings, but that's one of the things I really like about our Jenkins Junction. It gives me an opportunity to interact with my children and their spouses, but it also gives them an opportunity to interact with each other and stay up on each other's lives.
We actually do this separate from the grandkids.
Right.
With that intention that we're giving the adults in the family, us and our grown children, an opportunity to interact as adults. We're doing other things with the grandkids.
Right.
We'll get to that in a minute too, but this gives us an opportunity to strengthen the relationship between the adults in our family that were once our little kids. Vicki, I think you've noticed that none of our grandkids live in our state.
Nope. So one of the important things that we've done is we have budgeted for travel and time. So there's two things about that. One, I really think it is important to budget for that if your family lives away and if you have the opportunity, the financial means. The other thing I would say with that is when you go to visit, keep it somewhat brief.
This is actually a relationship enhancer. There's an old saying that family makes you happy twice, when they arrive and when they leave.
So if you keep it brief, you don't interrupt their world too much, but you still have an opportunity to build the relationships.
We like to time this so that everybody's just a little sad when we're leaving. If they're really thrilled that we're leaving, we probably stay a little too long.
Right.
So keep it brief, but budget for it. And just a little word about budgeting. You get to be the boss of your time and your money. Budget is basically my word for how you get to be the boss of your time and your money. You get to tell it what to do. And if the relationships are really that important to you, that should be reflected on your calendar and in your checkbook.
And I'll just add one other thing. For those who have the blessing of having your children live close to you, you still budget your time and maybe even some of your travel to go maybe to the soccer games to support the grandchildren. Part of developing that relationship with your children is to show up at the events that are important in their life and of those that they love. So budget that time there as well.
We've shared with you on this video some of what we're doing to stay close to our grown children. We've got some other resources available for you. In fact, watch that next video. 3 big skills every parent of a young adult must know and master. I think that's going to give you some other ideas.